Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Max 6 Entrepreneurial Center right here in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. And I am super excited today because we've had this on the docket for a while to have our friends from Miami and Pin Drop Travel Trailers to join us in the studio today. And I can't really kick off the show without thanking our friend Jamie Kerr with the Arizona Commerce Authority for the introduction to Tim. And here we are. So with that, please help me welcome to the studio Ruth Ellen and Tim Alinsky, co-owners of Pin Drop Travel Trailers. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here.
I can't wait to learn every little bit about your business, why you're choosing to manufacture in Miami. And to help tell that story is a great champion and cheerleader for you, Evelyn Vargas, who's the Economic Development Director for the town of Miami. Welcome, Evelyn.
Thank you so much.
So happy to have all of you here. So I love this when I get to sit back, and especially with a full house like this, I just get to sit back and listen. So let me tee up a couple of questions, but then I really just want you to share your love and joy for each other, the work that you're doing in rural Arizona, and really the impact that it has on us as a state overall. And for those of us that love the outdoors, I hike, I cycle, I'm not a bad fisherman, and I love to get outdoors. So let's have you guys start by introducing yourselves. Would love to hear just, how you show up in the world, and then why it is that you're doing what you're doing today. So whoever wants to go, we'll just kind of round robin. You've been selected.
I've been selected.
I'm handing you the baton.
That's fine. Well, I'll start. I'm Ruth Ellen Alinsky. I'm an entrepreneur, obviously, have launched several businesses in my lifetime, and moved out to Jerome, Arizona in 2005, and have been here ever since, have fallen in love with Arizona. I don't see myself ever being anywhere else. I'm a mom first. I have 2 young daughters who are in our community public school in Cottonwood. And I'm currently outside of Pin Drop. I work for the Small Business Development Center at our local community college. I'm the director there. So that's kind of a snapshot of me.
Yeah, so you basically have a lot of free time and don't really involve yourselves in a lot of things. I get it. I see that.
Yeah.
So entrepreneurship, your whole adult life, what led you to kind of having been bitten by that bug?
Yeah, I worked for a very passionate entrepreneur while I was in college. And so I worked full time for him and learned the leather working trade. Believe it or not, I was a leather worker for 10 years and had my own business, and moved my business to Jerome, where I was housed for about 3 years in a retail location, manufacturing fine, handmade leather goods made in the USA, and sold them to people all across the country.
What a great place. I love Jerome. I haven't been there in a while.
You should go. It's always magical there.
It's been since before COVID for me. And it is magical. Yes. Wonderful introduction. Thank you. Who's the guy sitting next to you?
Well, I'll let him introduce himself.
Do you know
I'm
him?
sure we would have different descriptions, right? I'll let him introduce himself.
All right. I'm the one lucky enough to be married to Ruth Ellen. So yeah, my name's Tim Alinsky. I'm a native here of Arizona. I was born here in the state and was raised up in Payson. So actually a little bit north of Payson. So I was raised on the East Ferdy River, which is where my love for the outdoors, I think, first sprang up. So my backyard was the Tonto National Forest, and it was probably the last ideal childhood that could be had. It was really just a great place to grow up. And Payson was a great town at that time too. There was still industry there. It was a mill town, really. There was still a sawmill. So, lots of families were there, and reminds me, quite frankly, of the Globe Miami area today. Just tight-knit families, and just a really ideal place to grow up.
Yeah.
So I've was a general contractor for over 20 years. Moved up to the Verde Valley in the early 2000s. I had family up there, so it was a good place for me to land and start my business. And yeah, really enjoyed working. I'm from a family of tradesmen, so that's really where where working with my hands began. With my dad was a tradesman, my grandpa before was a tradesman as well, and so all my uncles, I just was raised in it. My mom was pretty handy with her hands too, but she was really the businesswoman and kind of the Hellcat in the family. So my entrepreneurial grit and piss and vinegar definitely came from my dear mom.
I love it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So met my lovely wife in a mining town in Jerome. That's where we first met. So that's where my love of mining towns really kind of solidified. And just when we decided to start Pin Drop, it was just an obvious choice to start it in a historic mining town right in the center of it. It just made the most sense. And we both fell in love with Miami years and years ago.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect location for us to start manufacturing I think the nation's finest micro campers.
So good.
Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
So we actually started the business in 2018 is when we first started Pin Drop. Now we prototyped for a couple of years.
Just 2018? That recent?
Yeah.
Well, for us, it's like we're coming up on 5 years, which to us is like, whoa, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like we've made it, but yeah. The first prototype was completed in June of 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we should say that, as a builder and as a tradesman and being an avid camper, ever since we first started dating, we would go out camping. We had just like this crappy old canned ham.
As any camper should start with, right?
Oh, it was a 1952 Happy Home travel trailer. I bought it for $200 behind the Beeline Cafe in Payson,
So
Arizona.
good.
It was just a hunk of junk, and we would haul that thing out at terrible locations. I mean, should never have made it where we brought it, but
We flipped the axle, so
Yep.
it had a kind of a higher clearance.
Yep, a little bit more clearance. That's when I first started dabbling with like solar
Yeah.
to get the thing to be as off grid as you could possibly retrofit that thing. And so that's really where everything started, was trying to figure out how we can sustain our outdoor adventures for as long as possible with this existing hunk of junk. And we did a pretty good job with it, but that was really kind of and that was, gosh,
Forever
ago. It was a long time ago. So the Happy Home is near and dear to our hearts. It definitely is the start of this entire Pin Drop adventure that we've been on.
Yeah. And I interrupted you. So 2018 really kind of said, we're doing this, and off we go.
Off we go. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. And you chose Miami.
We did.
Yeah. And how quickly did you get connected with Evelyn? Were you in the role? How long have you been in your role?
Actually, in my role, 2 days.
Really?
Yes.
So exciting.
That's incredible.
Yes.
But I've been working behind the scenes for,
Mhm.
gosh, more than a year.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
good. So tell us about the town
Well-
of Miami and your background.
Okay. My name is Evelyn Vargas, and my background is I was born and raised in Miami. My father was a copper miner for 40 years. My mother was a homemaker, stay-at-home mom. So we were expected to be at the dinner table at 6:00 while my dad played his Mexican music. And we were expected to eat whatever vegetable she had on the plate. We weren't allowed to get up off the table until our plate was clean.
I'm familiar with that.
I'm from that generation.
Same.
And my playground was just the hills that surround Miami Claypole area. That was our playground. And I graduated from Miami High School. I was a teacher. I graduated from NAU. My husband graduated from NAU. He's also born and raised in Miami, coached. He just retired from coaching after 38 years. Just a long history of Miami, generations of Miami residents. And we both graduated from NAU. We have 3 children, all university graduates. We have an NAU graduate, a GSU graduate, an ASU graduate. And so there's a little bit of rivalry
Yes, it
in
sounds
our
like
home.
it.
So I met Tim when I worked at the hospital. I was the chief experience officer for Cobra Valley Regional Medical Center. And he gave me a call one time and he said, Evelyn, any need for apartments for traveling nurses or doctors coming in? I said, absolutely, yes. And that's kind of where
The
I met him.
friendship started.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Anyway,
So good.
but Miami, near and dear to my heart, just being raised in the area And, the copper industry, I think a lot of people kind of take it for granted, but copper is found in everything. This radio show wouldn't be possible without copper. And so I like to say that Miami, because Miami's been in the copper industry for over 100 years, 120 years, I like to say that Miami brought light to the world and is still connecting the planet today.
Mm-hmm.
We could stop there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we won't. I also, and you graduate, I'm a lumberjack.
Yes.
Woohoo, my undergrad
Go
is,
Jacks.
I loved it up there. That's so Jesse was kind of giving me a hard time, our producer, before we started. He's like, Karen, you're the only one who's not a rural Arizonan. Is Flagstaff rural Arizona? Can we even call it that anymore?
It's debatable, but
Yeah.
Back in the day, 80s, mid 80s, it was.
certainly.
So
Yeah.
I was up there. I used to have to dig my car out of the snow at 5
Yes.
o'clock in the morning to go teach aerobics at Flagstaff Athletic Club.
Uh-huh.
Loved it up there, and also have a teaching background. I was a third grade teacher for years and an assistant principal before going into business for myself. Had some business experiences and got bit by that entrepreneurial bug, thinking, oh my gosh, there's room for me in the business world, and it's all around communications and connections. So good. Very fun. All right. So pin drop travel trailers, you kind of planted the seed that they're solar. So let's talk about the unit, the trailer itself. Get us caught up on what makes you guys unique.
Sure. So what makes us unique is that we are 100% solar powered. So they're designed to be powered by the sun, to be 100% off grid, so that you don't need to haul a generator or fuel, or you don't need to go to a campground that has shore power to plug this unit in. And it's not just lights, it's the lights, the fan, the radio, the fridge, the air compressor. I mean, you name it, all the electrical systems, and not just 12 volt, but 120 volt alternating current too, if you need to plug in a coffee grinder or,
Yes,
margarita
yes, I do.
maker or whatever. Exactly. You have that option. And again, it's all powered by the sun. So in addition to that, we've got a super insulated cabin. So, we're manufacturing these in Arizona in the Southwest. It gets a little hot here. Some people don't realize it gets a little cold here too up in the mountains. So we wanted to make sure that our camper was fit for all climates. And they're not just built for the Southwest. We have them all over the United States on both coasts and up and down as well. So they're very comfortable to sleep in, very quiet, super insulated, queen size mattress. And the kitchen really, I think, is what sets us apart from a lot of the other campers.
Describe that for our listeners and viewers. They're so cool.
Yeah. So the teardrop design, most folks probably recognize them as being around since really the 40s. They started in the 1930s, but in the 40s, they gained in popularity a lot as, Route 66 was going across the nation. People wanted an easy way to travel. So they're super aerodynamic. They're easy to tow. And some of the earlier designs had kind of a kitchen in the hatch, if you will, but we sort of took it to the next level. And so when you open up that rear hatch, there's some pull-out drawers that you can pull out from underneath the counter. And you have this very nice U-shaped galley kitchen that's got a 2-burner stove, has cold food storage options, either a fridge or a Canyon cooler, ice chest, a deep basin sink. They can stow up to 44 gallons of fresh water. So you basically have, your little home on wheels. So you don't have to, a lot of our clients like to just kind of travel the nation. Some are retired, so they don't have to stay at Motel 8s. They don't have to eat at IHOPs. They can have it all right there in their teardrop. It's just a really comfortable, easy place to camp.
Yeah. And my husband and I went out not too long ago in a pin drop, and I like to call it pin dropping. We're not camping, we're not glamping, we're pin dropping.
It's very specifically different.
Very specific. It's very in between the two. And I thought the kitchen, Tim was talking about the kitchen, absolutely incredible. What a difference, night and day, from, hauling out your camp stove or getting your fire ready in the pit. We woke up that next morning and pulled out the drawer to the burner, pulled out the refrigerator. The sink is in the middle. We were ready to go.
So fun.
It was wonderful.
I would imagine that for the time frame that you've been manufacturing these and selling them and sharing them, I'm picturing your Instagram page. What a blessing to be doing this at a time where photos and videos are such a way that we communicate. Do you have a handful of clients who are just constantly in their pin drop and celebrating who you are? And how does that feel for you guys? It's that free advertising.
Well, we certainly, yeah, we certainly enjoy seeing people in the trailers we've designed
Yeah.
and that we're so passionate about. I mean, they're really high quality premium trailers, and I think people really do enjoy them. And yeah, we certainly like seeing photos and people out and about. And of course, a lot of our Instagram is our family
Yes,
enjoying the pin drop. We love taking our kids out, and it's just a magical way to explore and see parts of Arizona that we haven't seen before. So
we have a couple clients that bought last year, I believe, and they just went on a 6-week road trip up Yellowstone, up into Glacier, and then across down through Washington and Oregon. We got to follow their road trip as they traveled about, and they were able to pack the other great thing about pin drops, you can pack all your adventure gear on them. So whether that's kayaks, mountain bikes, stand-up paddle boards, or even fly fishing gear, you name it, you can pack it on these pin drops. So they had their e-bikes with them, and they were able to charge them off the pin drop, and just it was pretty amazing to watch their.
It was really amazing,
and it kind of
Go ahead.
Oh, it just kind of irritated us too, because
they're doing it.
We wanted to be there.
We wanted that experience, actually. Yeah, we're like, darn, they're doing it right.
That's so good.
need to do
6
that.
weeks. That's
6
incredible.
weeks.
Yeah. So let's talk about why you selected Miami. The two of you, Evelyn, shared how you connected. It was talking about, housing, creating some housing, temporary housing for nursing. And this is completely different. How do we make that leap for us? And why did you land there?
Sure. So we invested in a home in 2010 in Globe, and I was a general contractor. So I was down in the area a lot doing historic restoration was my specialty. So we really fell in love with that area, and in looking at some commercial space to expand my business, I looked around that area, saw the building. It was right across from the historic YMCA, and I fell in love with it. It was kind of a mess. It was
like an understatement.
It was a habitat for pigeons.
Oh, no.
It was, it really truly was a diamond in the rough. And so I told Ruth Ellen how excited I was about it. She took a look at it, and you can tell the listening audience your reaction.
Weren't as fond from the beginning.
It was just timing wise. We had just had our first baby, and there were just a lot of moving parts, and it was a big leap. I'll just say it that way. It was a huge leap for us.
Yep.
And to know that this was going to be a long-term project, a long haul in getting this to a place that we could make it work.
Yep.
But it really hasn't been that long.
It hasn't.
And it's come a long way, and it's a perfect space for what we're doing. And we're actually ready to expand into some other space. So it's going the right direction, and I wouldn't go back. I do not regret it one bit. And I think that's going back just to kind of the rural conversation. I mean, that's the opportunity in rural, is this building stock, right? And there's real opportunity there. And if you see it, which that's Tim's skill, he can always see that because of his experience in that field. He can see it.
Yeah.
So.
I'd have to agree. Tim is truly a visionary. And anytime someone comes to visit Miami, I take him by Tim's shop, and he's always so gracious, and he stops and he talks to them. And Miami is so fortunate that they chose Miami to set up shop. It makes a statement that here's this quality product built by quality people, and they've chosen Miami, Arizona. So it does my heart a lot of good, because it just shows that Miami is worth investing in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
100%. I mean, it was especially my first day there, and just looking the building over, I met incredible people that we're still friends with today. And I mean, the town really has just kind of, wrapped its arms around us. Really, they've been wonderful to work with. And that again is really the benefit of setting up shop in rural Arizona, because you know all the key people. They all want to see you succeed. And so it's really a partnership. And I feel very strongly that we're in a partnership with the town. And I can't imagine, doing this any place else.
Yeah.
And people come by, and you can just tell that they feel pride You know, they'll come and say, "Oh, I grew up here, and I heard about you all, and we're so happy to see something happening in our town, and this is so great." And they're so excited about seeing something happening, you know, in this place that they grew up.
What I kind of liken it to, and maybe Miami has these types of people, but you hear those stories of maybe a performing artist or a figure skater that's an Olympian, and their town is so proud of them that the town really just becomes part of that person's journey. Pin Drop is that for Miami. Yeah, that's.
And they have Olympians too, in fact.
They do have.
I figured I didn't want to overstate. I figured you had plenty of famous people, plenty of people who claim Miami as their starting point.
Brady Ellison. He's an archer.
Yeah.
And he's born and raised in Miami, then later on in Payson, but, you know, originated in Miami. Nancy Gonzalez, she's the provost for ASU.
Okay.
Vice president of ASU, born and raised in Miami, graduate of Miami High School. Yeah. You know, quite a few pretty famous people have come from Miami.
For our listeners who maybe are not familiar with the Arizona landscape, tell us Miami is how big and how far away from the greater Phoenix area?
It's about 85 miles southeast of Phoenix, and population varies, depends on which census information you look at, but I would say about 1,300. It's only 1 square mile, but at one time it was the richest 1 square mile in the state of Arizona. Diplomats, legislatures, everybody flocked to Miami because it was so rich in the mining industry. You know, everybody wanted a piece of that mining dollar. So a lot of great history in Miami.
Yeah, so if you haven't made it to that area of Arizona, it's a must. In addition to all these other places that we're name dropping around, Tim and even Evelyn for that matter, all three of you, can we talk a little bit about Arizona Commerce Authority just for a minute? Because again, we have Jamie Kerr to thank for the introduction. He is the VP for rural Arizona and bringing business to these communities. Is there a formal relationship, or what can you say about, you know, kind of the role that they played in you landing in Miami, if any?
You know, initially they didn't play a role in us landing in Miami, but they certainly discovered and are now. I consider Jamie and Robert Theobald too from the ACA friends, and they stop by frequently, and so they've been tremendous supporters of ours. I think they see our vision as well. And so, you know, we talked earlier about, you know, when I reached out to Evelyn about housing, you know, so the upstairs of what we call the factory where we actually manufacture these. So it's a 2-story building. It's historic. It's 115 years old. It's 12-inch thick poured concrete. I mean, it's a massive shell of a building. But the upstairs we have plans upstairs to put in workforce housing. So we have 5 apartment units that are planned for upstairs. Wow. We haven't yet started that project because we have many other things going on, but when we are ready to work on that, that's what's going to happen upstairs. So they've seen that, they've seen the plans for that. They're very excited about that. And then we purchased, as Ruth Ellen said, we purchased a second commercial property, which is just right across the highway from where we manufacture, and we have a short-term rental that we've built over there. So again, it was a
renovated.
Yeah, renovated. You know, another 100 some year old building. You know, poured concrete, just like all they are out there. They're built well. But the building was a little bit rough, so we remodeled the building and turned that into an Airbnb, and it's really nice. We've embraced the funkiness. It's charming. It's a wonderful place to stay. But Jamie and Robert both were able to kind of see that whole process from very beginning all the way to it being completed. So they've been champions of ours, and the property that we just recently purchased is right on Highway 60, so we have good frontage on the highway, and then we have plans for expansion of Pin Drop as well, so we can kind of expand. We're basically going to double our manufacturing footprint.
Doubling it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that Airbnb is just spectacular. I think they're being a little modest. It's just beautiful. I call it classy industrial.
That's a great phrase.
Yes, and you know, that's what our vision for Miami is. You know, bring back the industrial look of it, but keep it classy. You know. A place where people want to come and take a look at and feel the history, but also enjoy what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So
I think what's nice about a space like that too, and we have multiple uses. I mean, this is nice for us to be able to offer it to people when they're coming to pick up their pin drop, so they have a place to stay, and we can go through all the features and make sure they're comfortable before they leave. We also have vendors who might be coming in to see our production facility, and then also just welcoming people who may have never experienced Miami to come and really see what the Copper Corridor is all about, and these wonderful things that you just don't know are there. I mean,
right.
we're just a few minutes from the Boyce Thompson Arboretum. There's some other historical and cultural centers in the area. And so and you get to, walk around Miami and have amazing Mexican food and come by Pin Drop if you'd like to. So it's a great way, I think, and a draw to bring people into town, whether they're there for Pin Drop or not. So I think we're excited about it to have that as a way to bring people in.
Mm-hmm.
And as people are traveling through west or headed east from Phoenix, maybe the Phoenix area, the Mesa area, the downtown area is just one street south or north of Highway 60. And so, I'd like to invite listeners, if you're passing through, take some time, take a look and explore Miami.
It's not a long
Arizona
jaunt
is
off.
not
It's
a
super
long
easy to
sh-
get
yep.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, great. What have been some of the biggest challenges around manufacturing? I'm thinking about, again, your time frame when the world kind of came to a screeching halt. Did that play into some of the challenges? What were they?
It did. So we actually, like I mentioned, we started in 2018, but we prototyped and we wanted to really dial in the product. So we were very proud of where we got our pin drop, and we released to the public. Our first big event was March of 2020. So canceled.
Yeah.
And all the other shows that we had lined up beyond that were just canceled. So we really had to pivot, and it wasn't a bad thing. We turned it into a good opportunity to expand our rental program. So we kept manufacturing. We put out some rental products so that people could try the pin drops out, because we obviously weren't able to do any big shows, RV shows or expos or anything. So, and then, following all that, of course, was supply chain challenges and everything else. And we've really been able to weather that storm pretty well, and things have for the most part leveled out. But, even at their level best, it is a challenge to manufacture in rural Arizona. As a general contractor, I could tell my material supplier, I want this delivered to Timbuktu on this date, at this time, and I want you to place this lumber package right where the X is, and they would do that, hands down, no questions asked. As a manufacturer, it's much different. So to get our product out to Miami, Arizona first, they don't know where it is. Yeah, our materials, they don't know, where it is, and if it's coming from we try to source everything that we can from Arizona suppliers. So just getting them to recognize that if you're a Mesa-based business and you'll deliver to, say, Surprise all day long, but you won't just come over the hill to Miami, it just doesn't make any sense. But they won't. So we really have to find those suppliers that really understand what it is that we're doing, and believe in our mission,
and be a part of it,
and be a part of our story. And so it's really not that challenging just to drive over the hill and drop our product off, and then you're part of our mission, the pin drop mission, and you should be proud of that. So most are, but that's been a challenge for sure. So, and there's, being in rural Arizona, you can't just go to the hardware and get whatever it is you need. So we really have to think way in advance on what materials we need. We want to have them on the shelf when we need them, so we can keep production going. So those are some of the challenges being in rural, but it far outweighs the benefits, and it's the trade-off, because we get to build in a place that's wonderful, in a wonderful community. We get to experience the pride of the community too, and these are things you can't I don't think you can experience in a metro area. From a purely business perspective, it would make a lot more sense for us to manufacture somewhere in some air park in the Phoenix metro area, but we're not. That's just not our vision. It's not our mission. We want, I told you I grew up in Payson, and I can tell you that when the mill shut down in Payson, they made a big deal out of it at school. I was in school at the time. They said, we're all going to be quiet and listen to the last whistle blow to end the shift. And it was a very somber experience. As a kid, I didn't quite understand, but as the years followed and we continued to live in Payson, we realized that families were leaving. Industry had gone. So families, they all left scattered to find work elsewhere. Most went down to the metro area, and Phoenix completely changed, and they weren't prepared for that. I don't think they did a good job trying to figure out what are we going to do to supplement industry in this area to keep our families here. So then, retirees moved in, and now it's sort of it's a bedroom community or a pass-through community. And that's really unfortunate. And so that's really what drives me is I want to Ruthell and I want to raise our kids in rural Arizona for all the benefits. But we also want to make sure there's opportunity there for them. So that's really what drives Pindrop. Could we make more money manufacturing in Phoenix Metro? You bet, because people want to pick up the phone. Where are you? Oh, okay, I'll come see your sales lot or whatever. And to get them to make the trip over the hill is a challenge. But it's important for us because it's providing opportunities in a rural community.
And the story. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Tim pointed out one time to me that, he was talking about his supply chain challenges, that it's closer to drive to Miami to drop supplies than it is the west end of Phoenix.
You wouldn't mentally think that.
Right. And that's very true.
You have to you have to help people rethink, and it's through the story and the experience. You kind of alluded to that. You're giving people an opportunity to have a different experience and a different relationship with Miami and rural Arizona and think differently. And it just runs through your veins clearly. With your background, well, both of you for that matter, it makes sense that Pindrop is your thing. What other aspects of your lives, both personally and professionally, would you say qualify you to be manufacturers? Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that says, here's my badge, I've got my sash, and here's the badge?
I mean, I've said this before, entrepreneurship is not glamorous. It is, people look at it from the outside and they see a very different thing. And it is sweaty,
It's gritty.
It
It's
is
really
gritty and it is sweaty. And, I grew up on a farm in the Midwest in a very rural community. And we had it was a small farm. I don't think my dad made any money at it, but we had, fresh vegetables all year long. And, we had cattle, and I used a shovel a lot. And then I transferred into leather work where I was hand making leather goods and had lots of tools and, tool belt and all the things. And I think Tim's history is very similar, where we just came from that trade type environment.
Yeah.
And, looking back at my my stint in leather work, I mean, that's what I was doing, was manufacturing. We had a production facility. So it all kind of transfers over, I think, into what we're doing now and our other experiences as entrepreneurs. It is a way of thinking. It's a lifestyle. You never slow down. We're working late at night and we're up really early, and our kids are very familiar with why, because we have all of these moving parts. But that also is something we're instilling in them, that, great things come from really hard work. We're very passionate about this work. We're passionate about rural, and we have great things planned. Yeah, we're just taking it a step at a time.
Yeah. And I think living in rural, it provides so many opportunities. I raised my kids, in Miami, and when they got into high school, they were on every sports team they wanted to be on. They were in student council. They were, part of the judicial program. They had so many opportunities to be a part of, whereas in metro areas, they're kind of channeled one area. If you're a basketball player, that's what you're going to do. Whereas in rural settings, they have the opportunity to be a little more well-rounded. I would say my kids were. Their challenge was when they got to college, it just huge classes. People didn't know them by names like they did back in high school. But they were able to adapt. They were able to get their homework done and have a job, because they were used to it in high school,
Mhm.
juggling multiple things at one time. So that was the benefit. So my kids, were able to work full time and go to college full time.
I have a 16-year-old still at home with me. My older two are grown and gone. One just moved to North Carolina a couple days ago. Mom, I made it to Raleigh. And my 16-year-old is working and an athlete and an accelerated student. And sometimes he just looks at me like, I just don't want to keep doing it all. I'm like, you don't have to. Here's why you should. And keep giving him
Exactly.
that motivation to show up for himself. It's so important because of the technology and the access that we have and how easily it is to just disappear and not really see your life ahead of you. So it's great that it sounds like we've parented similarly.
Yes.
I'm curious how you landed in this role for the town. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because you said that you had the experience doing the with the hospital.
I was the chief executive or chief experience officer for the hospital, and I was working on some kind of economic development project, and it just didn't pan out very well. I resigned from the hospital, and I thought, Miami needs some help. They have so much potential. When I worked for the hospital, I was part of the recruitment team. So when doctors would come in to interview potential doctors, I would take them on community tours. So I would get to spend 3 hours with these physicians in my car, and really get to know them. I would always take them to Miami, and because it truly was the economic backbone for the entire community, because our mines have kept running within the town of Miami. So I would take these physicians down Sullivan Street in Miami, where the old downtown is, and nearly every one of them said, why hasn't this been developed? This is a wonderful tourist attraction. It could be so much. And I said, I don't know, but I see that too. And I was taking this one physician, I took him up on top of a hill, and we overlooked the mine. So we got out of my car on this hilltop, and we were overlooking the mines, and he said, this is really filthy. Because, there's a lot of dirt overturned. Sure. We have to get the copper out. There's, just a couple of ways that miners can do that. And it just kind of set wrong inside me. I didn't say anything, but inside I was saying, my dad worked 40 years in the smelter, providing a living for his family. And it just didn't sit right. We got back in my car. As he pulled out his cell phone, I'm thinking he would not have a cell phone had it not been for my dad working those 40 years. And as we're going back down the hill, he says, by the way, I own stock in BHP Billiton, which is a copper industry. And,
fascinating.
Yes. And inside I'm thinking, he can't live next door to the mining, but he can sure take money from the miners' backs. And so I thought, when the time came when I resigned from the hospital, I thought, we need to help Miami. Miami has been kind of struggling all these years. They've given everything. They've been like the giving tree. I don't know if you know that story, but
third grade teacher for many years. Of course I do.
So, that's how I see Miami, just always giving, and not thinking about themselves and their growth and their business development. And I think it's time. So
I'm trying to find words. I'm a little overwhelmed emotionally in you sharing that story. It paints such I'm going to use the word desperate picture of who we've become as a country, really, so focused on the end result and the stuff that we have without pausing with whether it's the food that we're eating and the farmers and the truck drivers that helped us get that food, or the copper, whatever it is, the pin drop trailer, right? That America has been built on those dedicated families, generation after generation, representing whatever trade or service that is there to provide. And I'm very touched by your story. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
And I think, as a country, we need to be appreciative of those that just really labor. And Ruth Allen was talking about the labor they provide to manufacture their pin drop trailers. It's not any different than my dad grabbing his lunch pail and going up to the copper mine every single day for 40 years, providing something valuable for us to use.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to be appreciative of, all aspects of manufacturing and production.
Building those connections. That's what kind of bubbles up for me in that story,
Uh-huh.
Evelyn.
Yep.
Yeah.
And listening where we're guided, right? You were, as you kind of felt the twinge after this
Yeah.
gentleman shared that, and thinking, okay, what's next for me?
Yes.
I'm going to help
Mhm.
Miami land back on the map,
Yes.
and do it with industrial, not elegance, but industrial.
Classy.
Industrial. I love it. It's such a great,
That's
it's such a great phrase.
And Tim and Ruth Ellen have that down. You go into their Airbnb and you step out into the backyard of that Airbnb, and they've used corrugated tin and lights and railroad ties. It's just beautiful.
I'm proud that your daughter took her wedding photos in front of our
Oh,
factory door.
so fun. Okay, so I'm coming up and I'm staying at the Airbnb, and then
Yes.
I can rent before I buy. Is that what I hear you say? You still offer the rentals?
Yes, go ahead.
We do. It looks a little different now. So over the pandemic, as Tim mentioned, that was kind of a pivot for us so that we could get people out using the product and trying it out for themselves. And of course, it was a time when we were all exploring more and going out into remote areas. So it was very timely for us. We have some customers who purchased a pin drop. I think it's been over a year now.
In 2 years. Yeah.
And they run a travel trailer rental company based here. And given all the other moving parts and our desire to expand and really focus on production, we have just started channeling those that want to rent through their
Smart.
local business, which is also something that we're very passionate about, which is really sourcing locally when we can and giving opportunities to other small businesses in and around Arizona. So it works out very nicely. I would say a lot of the rental crowd is typically in Phoenix anyway. And so pickup it's easier and less cumbersome, I think. So we're excited that that's still an opportunity for people. We're supporting their small business, and then we're ensuring our customers have an opportunity to take it out before they purchase.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll rewrite my
Yeah.
story a little bit. I'll pick up my pin drop rental here. I'll
Yes.
come and stay at the Airbnb as I'm making my way through
Yes.
rural Arizona.
Yes.
Don't know that I have
Nice.
6 weeks,
Yes.
Right.
maybe a week at best at this time in my life.
You
but
can do separate things,
Right,
right? You could do the
right.
rental, do your thing, then come visit us. And,
Perfect.
yeah.
I really would love to come and explore Miami with you.
You should just
I would love that.
give me a call. I would love to take you on a tour.
I'm embarrassed because I should know, but I think my dad's girlfriend, Sandy Dodson, was a teacher. I think she grew up in Miami Globe area as well.
Awesome.
He will likely be listening,
Yes.
so I'll get a text when we're done. You're
Yeah.
right or you're wrong. Fascinated by each of you in the story and really the friendship, right? I think this is very representative of the community in Miami, how welcoming it is and how committed it is to really celebrating and helping each other so that there's longevity in business.
Mhm.
It's very inspiring. I feel like, Tim, if we don't mention the town of Cottonwood,
Mhm.
I know I would be in trouble. Would you be in trouble? No, just kidding. You're very involved in the town of Cottonwood.
Yep.
Tell us a little
Yep.
bit about that. Is it okay that we go
Sure,
there?
of course. Yeah. No, so we're raising our girls in Cottonwood.
Yeah.
So as I said, we met in Jerome, we fell in love, we got married, so then had kids, and so we live in Old Town Cottonwood, historic Old Town Cottonwood, of course.
Yeah.
In an unfinished historic.
Of course. I would not expect
Yeah.
anything
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
unfinished. I like that.
The cobbler's kids
Yeah.
have no shoes, right?
It's-
Yes, that's how that works.
Wink, wink. I love it.
Like the Bob Dylan
That's-
song, some are mathematicians, some are carpenters' wives. Unfortunately, you're a carpenter's wife, so you'll live in an unfinished house for a while. But no, so we're raising our kids there, and they both love their school and they're having a good time there. I got involved in local politics back in 2005, so I've been serving ever since up in Cottonwood. So we're also committed in that way as well. So I started out on the Planning and Zoning Commission and moved on to City Council, and I currently serve up there as the mayor of Cottonwood. So I'm in my second term. Total service up there so far has been about 18 years.
Wow.
So, yep.
Yeah.
So that's another thing we have going on.
I know.
The side hustle, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm
they're
busy.
incredible.
Very incredible. I feel like I'm busy, but I've got to go find a couple other things to work on.
We can help you with that.
No,
if you're
I
looking
really-
for something to do.
Yeah. Yes. If it involves rural Arizona and any of these communities,
Yes.
I'm in.
Sure.
Yes. I have spent most of my life in the Metro Phoenix area and came from the San Francisco Bay Area. And I've always had this yearning and this longing to really just do smaller. I mean, a tighter community. So with one more kiddo at home, a sophomore in high school, I know that he's very committed to staying with his circle of friends, and I don't want to upset that apple cart. After that, though,
You're free.
yeah, I don't know about free, but I will be roaming a little bit more. Yeah. What else can you tell our listeners and viewers about Pin Drop that if they're curious, what do most people ask? Kind of the FAQs.
I'd like to say something. My husband and I have pin dropped,
I love it.
and we don't own one yet, but we would love to. So we've been talking about it, but just wanted to talk about the ease of use. We hooked it up to our truck. Took 5 minutes to hook it up. We loaded the refrigerator. We loaded the little cabinets. We got our dry goods together. It took us all of about half an hour to get ready to go camping.
That's unheard of.
Previous to that, first time we went camping or pin dropping, previous to that, we went camping and old style camping, tent on the ground, air mattress, a canopy, et cetera, et cetera. We had a truckload of things. It probably took us the night before, the morning of. It probably took us a couple of hours to put everything together to go camping. And we were just so surprised how quick we were able to get ready. And my husband said, you can't even feel that pin drop behind us. And so we drove to the mountains that first time, and he backed it into a camping spot. We weren't out off grid. We were in a campground. What was wonderful was that we could still use all the electrical amenities when the rest of the campground had to turn off their generators because of the noise. We set up within 10 minutes. We backed it in. I pulled out a few things out of the back of the truck. We got our pillows out of the truck, and we were set up within 10 minutes. We pulled out the canopy, put our little rug down, and my husband looks at me and he says, what else do we need to do? I said, we're done. I said,
Relax.
Sit in that chair. So we sat down. The first 10 minutes, he was out. He was asleep, while I was watching the birds, and it was just beautiful. So that's what pin dropping is about. You're still in nature, but, you're not glamping, kind of displacing. I like to be part of nature. But I don't like so much when we went camping a few weeks before the pin dropping. We went camping, and I crawled out of bed that morning, and I put my feet down on the floor of the tent, and I felt something crawl underneath. And I think it was a mouse or a snake. I'm not real sure which it was, but my foot came off the floor so fast. And what a world of difference.
Yeah.
Pin dropping.
Yeah, it's that nice. You said it earlier. It's that in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you. Great storyteller.
Yeah.
Segue.
I wanna be there camping with you.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. When are we going? When are we all
Anytime.
going?
Anytime.
Tell your husband that he's welcome to take a nap. It'll only take about 10 minutes to set up, and then we're just all going to hang out and have a great party.
Sounds great.
I love it. What else can we share for our listeners? Different sizes. Is it one model?
Yeah. So they're all the same size, but they're fully adaptable. So we start with a chassis that's about 14 and a half foot in length. And then there's the frame that goes over that. And then, but again, you can add, up to 44 gallons of freshwater storage. You can add different mounting points for different adventure gear. Like I said earlier, kayaks and
Mountain bikes.
I mean,
Are
you
they
name
cut? So are they built custom built then?
Each one is manufactured exactly the same to receive any of the upgrades that we offer at any point in time. So all the chassis have all the mounting hardware built into it. Everything is pre-wired.
So you could start with a very basic model
Yeah.
or basic trailer and then come back in a year and say, you know what? We actually decided we want to do a rooftop tent on here
Oh
too.
my gosh.
And and so then it's just a very easy process to upgrade.
Yep.
Or if you want to change from the Canyon cooler to the refrigerator, chest refrigerator, that's an easy exchange,
Yep. Yeah,
if
they're
you will.
fully
That's
adaptable.
brilliant.
And they can
I-
sleep.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out, people I think sometimes just don't understand that Tim and his team build these from the ground up. So when he says we start with a chassis, they are welding the chassis, okay, from raw materials, right?
Right.
And then the next step is the welding of the frame, right? And so we're doing all of those steps from the welding to the finished carpentry to the finish work and all of that by hand in the shop. So I just want to make that really clear because people, I think, again, there's a disconnect in how things are manufactured these days. And it's not a bunch of machines and it's not machine made somewhere and we're delivering it to the shop and just piecing it together. This is a really premium, superior product in that we have people's hands, very skilled, experienced hands building these from the ground up.
The first time my husband went into the shop, he was talking to Tim and he said, well, Tim, where do you get your trailers from? And Tim says, I build them. And my husband was totally shocked and in awe. And I think that's what is so remarkable about these trailers is that Tim is with them every step of the way. He's the quality control. He makes sure that it's up to par and has everything is tailor-made to his specifications, not some factory. And there is a huge difference.
We've been using the word manufacturing throughout our conversation, and I'm really glad, Ruth Ellen, you just kind of said, look, there's a difference. This is handcrafted.
Yes.
We can use the word manufacturing, but really this is a tradesman with perfectionistic characteristic. What's the word I'm looking for, right? I would imagine a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to your work. You need to be just a smidge. We need you to be. And these are handcrafted. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, they're at one time very elegant and beautiful, with handcrafted cabinetry and all that. But on the other hand, they're very, very rugged, robust. And so, my wife and I and our family, we like to go out down some pretty rough roads, in rural Arizona and beyond. That's our style of camping, and the pin drop's great for that because again, we can haul all of our gear and enough water and everything to stay out for as long as we can tolerate one another. But on the other hand, if we have a lot of clients that just they're retired, they're still active, they want to get out and explore all the national parks, their pin drop's never going to see dirt.
Yeah.
But it's still the perfect solution for them because it's so easy to maintain. And if you keep it loaded with all your kitchen stuff and your bedding, all you got to do is hitch up and go and you're set.
Yeah. Do you know where the furthest one is from Miami or even greater Phoenix area? Do you know?
Virginia,
I think.
So
There's
cool.
one in Virginia. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I worked for the hospital, we had a fundraiser for the hospital foundation and we raffled off a pin drop trailer. And so we were able to raise money, pay the trailer and earn some money also. The winner of that trailer, he was getting ready to take an excursion down to Mexico and he was going to pull the trailer down to Mexico.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. I mean, watching on Instagram once, Jamie told me about you guys, and I've just been very curious. I absolutely need to spend some time.
We need to get you in a
We're
pin
going to
drop.
make that happen. I'm looking forward to it.
My husband and I are animal watchers. He would love to hunt one day, but we just haven't had that kind of time. But anytime we're traveling, for example, from Flagstaff back home, if we see elk on the side of the road, we're flipping U's and going back to watch and take pictures, etc. And that's what happened this last time we were camping or pin dropping. we were pulling the pin drop, we were able to flip those U-turns pretty easily to go back and capture those animals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
love it.
So
She is your official spokesperson.
And I swear we are not paying her.
No.
we are not paying her.
So
no, they're not.
for our listeners and our viewers, when we invite someone, right, we've had an opportunity to have an introduction. Someone says, you got to get these folks on. We like to say to someone like Tim, who would you like to bring to help celebrate your success and really help tell the story, right? So we do and say, think about who would be a great person. This is our model.
Right.
Evelyn, we're so blessed to have
Yeah.
you. So
I
grateful.
only speak the truth.
Well, right. That I don't even think you have to have that as a qualifier. It's evident just in your smile and your eyes and the way in which you share your story. We are just about done with our program today. And I just feel very grateful again to have the introduction and have each of you make time to come and spend time here in the greater Phoenix area. Tell us, if you would please, how we can stay in touch with you. And where are you on the World Wide Web?
Sure. So very easy. Pin drop traveltrailers.com is our web address. And that's all the information on Tim and I, our team, as well as how you can rent a pin drop if you want to try one out. And of course, we have information if you're interested in coming out to the factory or you're interested in a purchase and you want to walk through that process with us. We're happy to talk with you about that as well. So pindroptraveltrailers.com.
Yes.
And then we're on Facebook, of course, and Instagram and LinkedIn. You can find us all there.
Awesome. And I didn't mean to ignore your email that said, hey, how do we share this? But I noticed that you did it anyway. So thank you.
I was like, I'm guessing
I'm going to do it anyway. You did well.
Hopefully, this is what she means.
You done good. Thank you.
I put it everywhere.
With no or little help from me. I already saw this morning. I saw the email and I saw like she figured it out, and you have a lot of champions and cheerleaders celebrating already. So hopefully those of you that are paying attention today on the LinkedIn Live video, we thank you for being here and celebrating these great
This was
people.
so fun.
I'm so glad.
Thank you for
It's
having
wonderful.
us.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
Wonderful.
Evelyn, how do folks get in touch with the town of Miami and you specifically?
You can call me directly, 928-812-9267. And I just want to put a plug in for some other things that are happening in Miami.
Perfect.
You know, we're just kind of a little manufacturing hub. Neotat is a tattoo machine that was invented by Ray Webb, who's a resident of Miami, and he revolutionized the tattoo industry from Little Miami, Arizona. So his tattoo machines go shipped all over the world. And
Is
they're
he
called
still,
Neotat.
he's still there
He's
local?
still there manufacturing. You know, we have a gun part manufacturing. We have a banjo maker. You know, a lot of little manufacturing or handcrafted items that come from Miami, Arizona.
Okay, not only am I coming to visit, Jesse and I are coming up there to do a little Miami Business RadioX visit. How about
Ooh,
that?
that would be so
We'll
would
do
be
a
fun.
remote
awesome.
broadcast, and
Yeah.
you'll get to introduce us if you would.
Yeah.
It'll blow
So-
your mind. It really will.
I am. I really can see myself there
Yeah.
and just really sitting in the rich culture and the
Yeah.
history in addition to
Mm.
these great craftsmen.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Tom Foster too,
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
and what
Bullion.
he's doing at the
Um,
Bullion Plaza.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom
What's-
Foster is the director of the museum, Bullion Plaza, which is an old school. And there's some history about that school. I won't go into that right now, but the museum is just spectacular. You go in and you see mining history, ranching history, cultural history, just a variety of all the history of the area. So Tom Foster is the curator of that museum and has done a fabulous job.
And it's-
Bullion Plaza.
Right in Miami.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
Okay.
know to
Yeah.
stop, but yeah. And can I
It's a
mention an
wonderful-
event coming up
Yes,
too?
please.
So October 14th, which is a Saturday, we're celebrating our 5-year anniversary at the Pin Drop Factory, which is 168 North Miami Avenue. We're going to have lively music and some snacks. And it's also in conjunction with a really cool historic car show. Is
Yes.
that right? And so it's a great time. It'll be fall weather. It should be gorgeous. Come and say hi. The open house runs from 4 to 6, but we'll be there all day, and you can just stop by and say hello and celebrate our 5-year anniversary with Pin Drop, and then see what Miami's all about.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Count on seeing us there.
Yeah. Antique stores, wonderful, wonderful artists in the area also.
Chihuahua races. I mean,
Chihuahua
come on, how have you not mentioned that?
We would be remiss if we did not mention the Chihuahua
I
races.
can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah,
I have a healer shepherd that thinks she's a Chihuahua. Can we get her entered in?
I'm sure they
I
make
know,
exceptions.
yeah.
She'd clobber everybody,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's
I think
so
she'll be
fun.
measured, so I'm not
Yes,
sure.
She would not. It's
But-
like the suitcases
Yeah,
at getting
at the
on
airport.
board. If your suitcase can fit in this bin, it's a carry-on.
Yeah.
If not, you're out.
But September 16th is the fiesta
Okay.
in Miami, so that's
Right
when
around the corner. Is
Chihuahua-
that next?
next
Yeah.
Saturday.
Okay.
So
My bags are already
Fun.
packed.
awesome.
Yeah.
Give me a call.
I so look forward to it.
Mhm.
Thank you. So fun. The rest of my day is just gonna, gonna have to raise the vibration to keep up with the three of you. Thank you again for listening to Phoenix
you.
Business Radio X. Loved having you here. Phoenix Business Radio X broadcasting from the Mac 6 Entrepreneurial Center. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean rural Arizona, manufacturing handcrafted pin drop
Yes.
trailers from Miami, Arizona.
Awesome.
We'll see you next time. So good.